Good morning, students. Today we are going to begin a new chapter from the book My English Garden. This chapter is a story, and the name of the story is Pumpkin Trees and Walnut Vines. So let's read and find out what this story is about. One day, Nasruddin Hodja was walking towards the village. It was a hot summer afternoon and he was tired. He saw a cool spot under a walnut tree where a pumpkin vine was growing. He sat under the tree and took off his turban. The breeze cooled his head. So, this story is about a person whose name is Nasruddin. And he is a Hodja. Hodja means a teacher. So, Nasruddin is a teacher. And one day he was walking towards his village. So, he was going home. And it was a hot summer afternoon. So, he felt tired because of the heat. And then he saw a walnut tree. Okay, a walnut is kind of a nut. And he saw a walnut tree. And under the tree, he found that it was shady. There was no sun, direct rays. So, he thought that it would be a good spot to sit and rest. And near this tree, he saw some pumpkin vines. Okay. Tree, you have seen trees, right? They are strong and tall. They stand up straight. And vines are like climbers. In science, you have read about climbers, right? They cannot stand up on their own. They need support to stand. So, vines means climbers. So, these pumpkins, if you have seen pumpkin plants, they do not grow on trees, right? Pumpkins do not grow on trees, but pumpkins grow on vines. So, Nasruddin saw a walnut tree under which he saw a cool spot, and near it there was a pumpkin vine. He sat under the tree and took off his turban. So, he was wearing a turban on his head. What is a turban? A turban, is a pagri, right? We call it a pagri. So, he was wearing a pagri and he was feeling hot. So, he took out his turban and the cool breeze that was blowing cooled his head. He looked around and said to himself, Mother Nature is so strange. The huge tree has to bear just some tiny walnuts. But look at the pumpkin vines. It lies on the ground bearing such huge pumpkins. So, when Nasruddin sat under the tree, he looked around and he thought about Mother Nature. What Mother Nature had done. What had Mother Nature done? Mother Nature had given such a big tree only such small fruits. Right? Walnuts are very small in size. So, Nasruddin thought that this big tree is carrying such small fruits. But the pumpkin, which are so big, are being carried by these thin vines. So, he thought that this was not right. You see this picture? This picture describes what he saw. Okay, so this person, Nasruddin Hodja, he's sitting here. This is his turban. Okay, so he's sitting under the tree, cooling himself. And here you have the pumpkin vines. And here you have the walnut tree with the walnuts growing on them. So, he thought it very strange that such a big tree had such small fruits, while such thin and weak vines had such big fruits growing on them. The more he thought about it, the funnier Hosda thought it was. Why would little walnuts grow on huge trees and huge pumpkins grow on a weak vine? So he thought it was very funny, right? That a big tree had such small fruits and such weak vines had such big fruits. It is all wrong. The big pumpkins should grow on this big tree. The little walnuts should grow on the vine. Now Hosda thought that Mother Nature had not done a good job. She had made a foolish mistake. She should have let the big tree carry the big fruits, and these vines, weak vines, should have carried the small fruits. While the Hosda was busy planning, a strong breeze blew. The branches above his head swayed. Now what happened was, when he was thinking about these pumpkin trees, pumpkin vines and walnut trees, okay, when he was thinking about what should have been, then suddenly a strong breeze started to blow. What is a breeze? It's a wind. Okay, so a breeze started to blow, and the branches above his head swayed. Swayed means move. Okay, you see when there is wind blowing, you see the tree branches, they move from one side to side, right? So that movement is called swaying. So the branches above his head swayed. The hosta went on. It has to be planned differently. Now still he was thinking, right? He had some cool breeze and now more thoughts were coming to him. He thought that this should not have been so. Things should have been different. Then suddenly something happened. What happened? Suddenly, in the strong breeze, a walnut fell down. It hit the hosta on his bald, bare head. Ouch! He picked up the walnut. It was small, but hard. Now what happened is, a walnut had broken from the branch due to the breeze and it fell on the head of the person. Okay, now he had no hair. He was bald. Okay, a person who does not have hair is called a bald person. So he also did not have any hair on his head, and the walnut fell down from the tree and hit his head. We know, like, it hurts so much, right? When you hit your head, it hurts so much. So this walnut fell on his head and he was hurt. He picked it up and he saw that this walnut was very small, but it was hard. So this is the picture. See here, he was thinking about this picture, that the pumpkin should have grown on the trees and the walnuts should have been on the vines. Okay, when suddenly a walnut fell on his head and he looked at it. It was hard and small. Now, after this happened, his thoughts changed. What was he thinking now? Let's see. The hosta looked thankfully at the pumpkins growing on the ground. I am such a fool to think that pumpkins should grow on trees and walnuts on vines, he thought. Now the hosta understood why Mother Nature had planned it like this, why the tree had small fruits, why the pumpkins were on the ground. Why? You see, when the hosta was sitting under the tree, the walnut that fell on his head was very small, right? So it hit his head, but he wasn't injured. It only hurt him a bit. But imagine if the pumpkin had been on the tree and the pumpkin fell on his head, what would have happened, right? His head would have been covered with the pumpkin juices, right? That wouldn't have been good. So now he realized that this pumpkin tree was a bad idea. Mother Nature is right. Rubbing his head, he smiled. You are wise, Mother Nature. The golden pumpkins looked beautiful on their vine. The tiny walnuts swayed on the branches of the tree. So he thanked Mother Nature because she had not grown the pumpkins on the tree, and if she had done so, the pumpkin would have fallen on his head. He would have got hurt badly, right? So he thought that Mother Nature is really wise. Why? She had planned it correctly. So you see, in this story, we learn that everything in nature has a purpose. Okay, Mother Nature is wise and she plans everything perfectly for us. So we should respect the nature and follow the laws and rules of Mother Nature like they should be followed, like she has decided for us. So this is the end of your chapter. This was a funny and interesting chapter, right? I'm sure you all enjoyed it. So I will end the video here. That's all for today. Thank you.